Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human ship Meridian, watching the stars through the large window. After 3 months of traveling through empty space, they had finally found something interesting. But what they found was not what anyone expected. "Captain, we're getting strange signals ahead," said Amy Carter from her station. She was the ship's communications officer and had been listening to space chatter for weeks. "It sounds like fighting?" Jake walked over to look at Amy's screen. Numbers and strange symbols filled the display. "Can you make sense of it?" "Not really, sir. But there are definitely 2 different groups sending messages, and they don't sound happy with each other." Dr. Lisa Martinez, the ship's science officer, looked up from her own computer. "Captain, I'm picking up energy readings that suggest a large battle happening about 2 million kilometers ahead." Jake felt his stomach tighten. The Meridian was Earth's first deep space exploration ship. They were supposed to make peaceful contact with alien life, not stumble into a war zone. "How large are we talking?" "Based on these readings, thousands of ships, sir." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Humanity had dreamed of meeting aliens for centuries, but their first contact might be in the middle of a massive space battle. "Should we turn around?" asked Commander Ryan Blake, the tactical officer. His hand was already moving toward the controls that would change their course. Jake thought for a moment. They had come so far. Earth needed to know what was out here. "No, we go forward, but carefully. Lisa, can you scan for the safest route?" "Already working on it, Captain." As the Meridian moved closer, the battle became visible on their screens. Huge metal ships were firing bright beams at each other. Explosions lit up the darkness of space like deadly fireworks. Some ships were long and thin like needles. Others looked like giant insects with many legs. "My God," whispered Amy. "How many ships are there?" Lisa checked her instruments. "I count over 5,000 ships on each side. This isn't just a battle, Captain. This is a war." The ship shook suddenly. Red lights flashed on the bridge. "We've been scanned," said Ryan. "Multiple ships are turning toward us." Jake's heart raced. "Are they targeting us?" "I don't think so. They seem confused." 3 ships broke away from the main battle. 2 were from different sides, but they were flying together toward the Meridian. Jake had never seen anything like them. One ship looked like it was made of crystal and metal. The other was dark and covered in what looked like armor. "Captain, we're being contacted," Amy said. 2 different signals at the same time. "Put them through." The main screen split in 2. On one side appeared a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms. Its face had large golden eyes and no nose that Jake could see. On the other side was something that looked like a giant insect standing on 2 legs. It had multiple eyes and sharp teeth. Both aliens spoke at the same time, but in different languages. Amy worked quickly to activate the translation system that Earth scientists had prepared for this moment. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," said the blue-skinned alien. Its voice was deep and musical. "Strange ship, you will explain your presence," said the insect creature. Its voice sounded like metal scraping against metal. Jake stepped forward. This was the moment humanity had prepared for. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship Meridian. We come from Earth in peace." Both aliens looked shocked. They spoke to each other in their own languages before turning back to Jake. "Human?" said the blue alien. "We have no record of this species in our databases." "Nor do we," said the insect. "Are you allied with the Zephyrian Empire?" It pointed one of its clawed hands at the blue alien. "Or with the Kithra Swarm?" asked the blue alien, pointing back. Jake felt confused. "We're not allied with anyone. We just arrived here. We didn't even know you existed until today." The 2 aliens looked at each other with what Jake thought might be surprise. "Impossible," said the blue alien. "All intelligent species choose sides. You must serve someone." "Every species fights," said the insect. "It is the way of the galaxy. You cannot exist without war." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "War? But why do you have to fight?" Both aliens stared at him like he had said something crazy. "Why?" repeated the blue alien. Because that is what intelligent species do. We fight for resources, for territory, for survival. The strong take from the weak, said the insect. The weak serve the strong or die. This is natural law. Dr. Martinez stepped up beside Jake. Captain, I'm analyzing their databases through the communication link. Every species, they know, has been at war for thousands of years. Some fights have lasted for centuries. Jake couldn't believe what he was hearing. But surely you must have peace sometimes. Peace. The blue alien repeated the word like it tasted bad. There is no such thing. There are only brief moments between battles when we prepare to fight again. The insect nodded its large head. War is life. Life is war. What else could there be? Jake looked around at his crew. Amy looked scared. Ryan had his hand on his weapon controls. Lisa was staring at her computer screen in shock. There could be cooperation, Jake said quietly. Working together instead of fighting. Both aliens laughed, but their laughter sounded cold and harsh. Working together, said the blue alien. The only cooperation is when weak species serve strong ones. Are you offering to serve the Zephyrian Empire? Or the Kythera Swarm? Asked the insect. We could use more workers. Neither, Jake said, firmly. We work together as equals. The aliens stopped laughing. They looked at Jake like he was insane. Equals, whispered the blue alien. Species are not equal. Some are born to rule, others to serve. This human speaks madness, said the insect. Perhaps their minds are damaged. Lisa leaned over to Jake. Captain, I'm reading massive fleet. Movements. Word of our arrival is spreading fast. More ships are coming. On the screen, Jake could see dozens of different ship types approaching from all directions. The battle had stopped. Everyone wanted to see the strange humans who spoke of impossible things. Captain Morrison, said the blue alien, who had introduced himself as War Commander Thextal. You will come with us to speak with the Galactic Council. They will decide what to do with your species. And if we refuse, Jake asked, then you will be destroyed, said the insect called Battle Leader Zacht. The galaxy cannot allow dangerous ideas to spread. Jake looked at his crew again. They were scared, but they trusted him. Humanity had come to the stars hoping to find friends. Instead, they had found a galaxy that had forgotten how to be anything but enemies. We'll come with you, Jake said. But we're not going to choose sides in your war. Then you will not survive long, said Thextal sadly. In this galaxy you fight or you die. There is no other choice. As the Meridian followed the alien ships toward an uncertain future, Jake wondered if humanity had made a terrible mistake, coming to the stars. But deep in his heart he refused to believe that war was the only way intelligent beings could live. Maybe it was time for the galaxy to learn something new. Admiral Beth Collins stood in the command center of New Denver, watching as alien ships arrived in human space. 3 months had passed since Captain Morrison's first contact with the galactic civilizations. Word of humanity's strange, peaceful nature had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Admiral, we have 12 more ships requesting permission to visit, said Lieutenant Kevin Rodriguez from his station. He was keeping track of all the alien visitors who wanted to see human society for themselves. What species this time? Beth asked. 2 Zephyrian research vessels, 3 Kythera scout ships, 4 Drakmori cruisers, 2 Shard collective observers, and 1 ship I can't identify. Dr. Susan Park, the cultural analyst, looked up from her desk covered with alien language books. That's more visitors in one day than we usually get in a week. They're all curious about us. Beth nodded. The aliens couldn't understand how humans lived without constant war. Most thought it was impossible. A few thought humans were lying, but some were genuinely interested in learning how peace could work. Send them to the usual landing areas, Beth said. Make sure our guide teams are ready. The first alien visitors had been shocked by what they saw on human worlds. Cities where different groups lived together without fighting. Markets where people traded goods instead of stealing them. Children playing games instead of training for war. In the main plaza of New Denver, a crowd had gathered to watch something unusual. A young Zephyrian named Kexara was sitting at a table across from an old human man named Bill Jackson. Between them was a chessboard. "I still don't understand," Kexara said, her forearms moving nervously. "If I win this game, what do I gain?" Bill smiled and moved his knight. "You gain the satisfaction of playing well, and maybe you learn something new. But if you lose, I don't take anything from you. No territory, no resources, no slaves. Nope. We just play another game if you want." Kexara stared at the board. In her culture, every competition ended with the winner taking something from the loser. Usually land, sometimes entire planets. The idea of competing just for fun made no sense to her. She moved her piece carefully. "And if I lose?" "Then you learn from your mistakes and get better. You won't kill me?" Bill laughed gently. "Of course not. Losing a game isn't a crime." Nearby, Dr. Kevin Rodriguez was explaining human sports to a group of Cathara drones. The insect-like beings were watching a basketball game between two human teams. "They're fighting over the ball," observed Zikth, a young drone who had started asking questions instead of just following orders like other Kithara. "They're competing," Kevin corrected. "See how they follow rules? No one gets hurt. When the game ends, both teams shake hands." Shake hands? It's a sign of respect. They're saying good game to each other. Zeketh watched as the losing team congratulated the winners. His large compound eyes reflected confusion. "The losers are happy?" "They played their best. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Both teams get better by playing. In the swarm, losers are eaten." Kevin tried not to show his shock. "Well, here losers just try harder next time." Across the city, War Marshal Kane was meeting with his defense team. As head of human military forces, he was worried about reports coming from other parts of the galaxy. "The Sract hegemony is mobilizing," reported Colonel Amy Stevens. "Our spies say they're calling humanity a contamination that needs to be removed." Kane studied the star maps on his screen. The Sract controlled over 200 star systems and had the largest military force in the galaxy. "How many ships?" "At least 10,000 battle cruisers. Maybe more." Dr. Susan Park entered the room carrying a thick folder. "I've been analyzing the alien cultures. The Sract are the most militant species we've encountered. Their entire society is built around war. They see our peaceful influence as a threat to everything they believe." Kane felt a familiar weight in his stomach. He had hoped humanity could avoid galactic wars entirely. "What about our allies?" "That's the problem," Susan said. "We don't really have allies yet. We have curious visitors and a few friends. But most species are still deciding whether to trust us or fear us." Meanwhile, in the New Denver Cultural Center, former enemies were experiencing something impossible. Morden, a scarred veteran from the Drakmori Empire, was learning to paint from a human artist named Jenny Adams. "This is strange," Morden said, holding a brush with his clawed hands. His reptilian face showed confusion as he looked at the canvas. "Where I come from, we only create things to help us fight." Jenny guided his hand gently. "Art isn't about fighting. It's about expressing feelings, sharing beauty, telling stories. But what is the purpose? How does this help you defeat enemies?" "It doesn't. It helps us understand ourselves and each other." Morden had spent his entire life as a soldier. He had conquered 12 worlds for the Drakmori Empire. The idea of creating something just because it was beautiful was completely foreign to him. "In my culture," he said slowly, "beautiful things are taken from those we defeat. We don't make our own." Jenny handed him a different brush. "Maybe it's time to try something new." As Morden carefully painted a simple flower, something strange happened. For the first time in his long life, he felt peaceful. But not everyone was having positive experiences. In a secure meeting room, representatives from the Galactic Council were discussing the human problem. Vexnari, the crystalline leader of the Shard Collective, projected her thoughts to the other council members. "The humans are spreading dangerous Ideas. Several of our member species are beginning to question the necessity of war. Krexmol of the hegemony slammed his metal fist on the table. My soldiers are asking why they fight. Some have even refused orders. This human poison must be stopped. General Tharn of the Void Reapers nodded agreement. War maintains order. Without it, the strong cannot control the weak. Chaos will follow. Perhaps we should study them more, suggested War Commander Thextel. The Zephyrian had spent weeks on human worlds and was troubled by what he had seen. Their society functions without warfare. Somehow they have achieved something we thought impossible. Weakness, shouted Krexmol. They are soft and weak. When real war comes, they will crumble. But Thextal wasn't so sure. He had watched human children play games that required strategy and teamwork. He had seen human adults solve complex problems by working together instead of fighting. It wasn't weakness he observed, but a different kind of strength. Back on New Denver, the chess game between Kexara and Bill was ending. The young Zephyrian had lost, but instead of anger or shame, she felt something unexpected. I want to play again, she said. Bill smiled. Why? Because I think I understand now. The goal isn't to defeat you, the goal is to become better at the game. And maybe to have fun while you're learning. Kexara considered this. Fun was another concept that didn't exist in her war-focused culture. Fun, she repeated. Yes, I think I had fun. Dr. Rodriguez received an urgent message on his communication device. His face went pale as he read it. What is it? Asked Zikth, who had been watching more human sports. The Shrakth hegemony has declared war on humanity. They're calling us a disease that must be eliminated. The Cathara drone tilted his head. Will you fight them? Kevin looked around at all the aliens and humans who had been learning from each other. Old enemies playing games together, warriors learning to paint, soldiers questioning why they fought. I don't know, he said honestly, but I hope we can find another way. As news of the Shrakth declaration spread across New Denver, both humans and alien visitors faced the same question. Could peace survive when war came calling? Or was the galaxy right that in the end, all intelligent species had to choose between fighting and dying? Admiral Collins stood at her window, watching alien and human children playing together in the streets below. Whatever happened next, she thought, the galaxy would never be the same. Fleet Admiral Tony Williams stood on the bridge of the battleship Freedom, watching 10,000 enemy warships approach through space. The largest military force in galactic history was coming to destroy humanity, and Tony had only 200 human ships to defend Earth and her colonies. Admiral, the Shrakth fleet will reach us in 6 hours, reported Captain Lisa Green from the tactical station. They're demanding our complete surrender. Tony looked at the massive enemy formation on his screen. Each Shrakth ship was 3 times larger than human vessels. Their weapons could destroy planets. This should have been the end of humanity's short journey to the stars. Open a channel to all human ships, Tony said calmly. Channel open, sir. Attention all vessels. You know what we're facing today. The largest war fleet ever assembled is coming to destroy us because they fear our ideas about peace. But we're not going to fight them. Silence filled the communication channel. Every human captain was confused by their admiral's words. Sir? Asked Captain Green. Did you say we're not fighting? That's correct. We're going to do something the galaxy has never seen before. We're going to surrender immediately, then invite them to dinner. In the Shrakth command ship, War Master, Fakhtar couldn't believe what he was hearing through the communication system. The humans were offering to surrender without a battle. This is a trick, growled General Krexnor, his second in command. No species surrenders this easily. It must be, agreed Fakhtar. Prepare for their attack. They're probably hiding weapons, but no attack came. Instead, the human ships moved aside and sent a simple message. Welcome to human space. We surrender unconditionally. Would you like to visit our worlds and see how we live? Dr. Rachel Green, humanity's lead psychologist, was aboard one of the human ships. She had spent months preparing for this moment. While everyone expected a battle, she had been planning the largest cultural experiment in galactic history. Admiral Williams, we're ready to begin Phase 2, she reported. Good luck, Doctor. The future of humanity depends on this. The first Sract landing parties arrived on New Denver expecting to find a defeated enemy. Instead, they found humans waiting with food, games, and something they had never experienced before: genuine hospitality. "I am Dr. Rachel Green," she said to the first group of Sract soldiers. "Welcome to our world. We know you came here to fight us, but we'd like to show you something different." The Sract warriors were massive, muscular beings covered in thick armor. They carried weapons that could level buildings. Their leader, Commander Drakesh, pointed his weapon at Rachel. "You will submit to Sract rule, or be destroyed." Rachel didn't move away from the weapon. "Of course, Commander. But while you're here, would you like to try some human food and maybe play a game?" "Games?" Drakesh lowered his weapon slightly. "What kind of games?" "Well, we have chess, which is about strategy, basketball, which requires teamwork. Or maybe you'd like to try painting?" The Sract warriors looked at each other with confusion. They had come to conquer a world, not play games. Meanwhile, in the orbital stations above New Denver, something remarkable was happening. A 12-year-old human boy named Bobby Chen was teaching Sract General Krexnor how to play chess. "This piece is called a knight," Bobby explained patiently. "It moves in an L shape." General Krexnor, who had never lost a battle in his long military career, stared at the small wooden pieces. "And if I lose this game, you will execute me?" "What? No," Bobby laughed. "If you lose, we'll just play another game. That's how you get better." The general moved his piece awkwardly. He had commanded armies across the galaxy, but this simple board game confused him. After several moves, Bobby's pieces trapped the general's king. "Checkmate," Bobby said gently. "You lose." Krexnor waited for the death blow that always came after defeat. Instead, Bobby started setting up the pieces. Again. "Want to play another game? I can show you a better strategy for your knights." For the first time in his life, Krexnor had lost something without losing his life. It was the most shocking experience of his existence. Across the planet, similar scenes were happening everywhere. Sract soldiers were learning human sports, where losing teams congratulated winners. Warriors were trying art classes where the goal was beauty, not conquest. Generals were discovering music that told stories instead of glorifying battles. The breakthrough came when news arrived from the Outer Rim. The old enemies, the Zephyrians and Cathara, had stopped fighting each other to help war refugees. Working together, they were saving lives instead of taking them. Commander Drakesh found Dr. Rachel painting a landscape in the city park. "Human doctor, I don't understand what is happening to my soldiers." "What do you mean?" "They are laughing, playing your games. Some have asked to stay longer instead of returning to the ships." Rachel smiled. "They're discovering that there are other ways to spend time besides fighting. But fighting is what we do. It's who we are." "Is it, though? Or is it just what you've always been told to do?" That evening, something unprecedented occurred in galactic history. Sract soldiers sat around campfires with human families, sharing stories. Not war stories, but tales about their homes, their dreams, their fears. A young Sract warrior named Tokara spoke quietly to human teacher Sarah Wilson. "On my world, we are born, we train, we fight, we die. There is nothing else. What would you like to do if there was something else?" Sarah asked. Tokara thought for a long moment. I think I would like to grow plants. I see your gardens here. They are beautiful. You can learn that here if you want. Even though I came to conquer." "You? Especially because you came to conquer us, it means you can change." Back on the Sract command ship, War Master Vokhtar was receiving disturbing reports. Half his invasion force was on the planet's surface playing human games instead of destroying human cities. His soldiers were asking strange questions about the purpose of war. "This is unacceptable," he told General Krexnor, who had just returned from the planet. "Order all troops back to the ships immediately." But Krexnor looked different. The hard lines around his eyes had softened. "War Master, I have experienced something impossible." What are you talking about? I lost a competition to a human child. But instead of shame, I felt curious. I wanted to understand how to do better. Vokhtar stared at his most trusted general. You're speaking madness. Perhaps. But I have seen Shrath warriors working together with humans to build things instead of destroy them. I have seen our soldiers create art with their own hands. Maybe there is more to existence than endless war. The final moment came when emergency signals arrived from across the galaxy. The Drakmori Empire, inspired by what they had seen on human worlds, had declared an end to their expansion wars. The Void Reapers had announced they would become protectors instead of destroyers. Species that had fought for millennia were laying down their weapons. Dr. Rachel received the report with tears in her eyes. Admiral Williams, it's working. The galaxy is choosing peace. Admiral Williams looked out at the Shrath fleet, where thousands of enemy soldiers were now learning human games and customs. Not just choosing peace, Doctor. They're learning that peace was always possible. They just needed someone to show them how. On the surface of New Denver, General Krexnor was teaching young Bobby Chen a Shrath strategy game, while Bobby showed him new chess moves. Two former enemies from different worlds, different species, different ways of thinking, sitting together as friends. You know, Krexnor said thoughtfully, I think I like this better than war. Bobby grinned. Most people do once they try it. As the sun set over New Denver, humans and Shrath watched it together, no longer as conquerors and conquered, but as beings discovering that the universe was vast enough for everyone to share. 5 years had passed since the Great Transformation began. Dr. Alex Thompson stood in the main hall of the new Galactic Peace Center on Earth, watching representatives from hundreds of species work together on projects that would have been impossible before humanity arrived in the galaxy. Dr. Thompson, the morning reports are ready, said former War Commander Thextal, who now served as the center's first alien director. The tall Zephyrian had traded his military uniform for simple civilian clothes. What's the news today? Alex asked, taking the data pad. The Drakmori Empire has completed construction of their 15th refugee settlement. The Kithara swarm has finished terraforming the dead world of Kilos Prime. And the Shard Collective reports that their new music academy has received applications from over 50 different species. Alex smiled as he read through the reports. The galaxy was becoming unrecognizable in the best possible way. Where once there had been only battlefields, now there were schools, hospitals, art centers, and research stations. In the center's main workspace, species that had been enemies for thousands of years were collaborating on massive projects. Former Shrath warriors worked alongside Zephyrian scientists to design new farming techniques. Kythera drones taught engineering to young humans while learning human literature in return. Captain Lisa Chang walked through the construction bay of her new ship, the Harmony. Unlike the warships of the past, the Harmony was built for exploration and rescue missions. Her crew included members from 12 different species all working together. Captain, we're ready for departure, reported her first officer, a former Drakmori general named Vorek, who had traded his weapons for survey equipment. Where are we headed this time? Lisa asked. The Andros sector. Long-range scans detected what might be survivors from the old Kepler Wars. If anyone's still alive out there, they've been hiding for over 200 years. The Harmony's mission was to find the lost and forgotten victims of the galaxy's endless wars. Entire civilizations had hidden themselves in remote corners of space, too afraid to reveal their locations to the warring empires. Now, with peace spreading across the galaxy, these hidden peoples were slowly emerging. Dr. Sharon Davis was working in her laboratory on New Denver, surrounded by Kithara drones who had become her research assistants. She had spent years developing new techniques to help the insect-like beings redirect their natural swarming instincts toward construction instead of destruction. The results are remarkable, she told her assistant, a young drone named Click 7. Your people have built more housing in the past year than most species build in a decade. It feels good to create instead of destroy, Click 7 replied in his buzzing voice. The hive is happier. This was something entirely new for the Kithara. For thousands of years, their hive mind had been focused solely on expansion through conquest. Now they used that same collective intelligence to solve problems, build homes, and help other species. The greatest symbol of the new galaxy was the memorial of forgotten wars on Earth. Representatives from every known species had contributed, artifacts from their violent past. Broken weapons, burned flags, destroyed monuments to dead conquerors. But instead of glorifying war, the memorial honored those who had died and celebrated the choice to end the killing. Admiral Jake Morrison, now much older and grayer, stood before the memorial with his granddaughter Katie Nelson, who was preparing to become humanity's youngest ambassador. "Grandpa, was it really this bad before?" Katie asked, looking at the display showing the old galactic maps covered in battle zones. "Worse than you can imagine, sweetheart. Every red dot on that map was a war. Every species fought every other species. The galaxy was dying. And humans really stopped all of that just by being nice?" Jake laughed softly. "It wasn't just being nice, it was showing them that there was a choice, that intelligent beings could choose cooperation over competition, creation over destruction, understanding over hatred." Nearby, former enemies shared stories with their children. General Krexnor, who had become Earth's ambassador for former military personnel, was teaching a group of young aliens and humans about the old ways, not to glorify them, but to ensure they would never return. "Remember," he told the children, "war seems strong, but peace is stronger. War can only destroy. Peace can create infinite possibilities." The formal ceremony marking the transformation came when the old Galactic Council officially dissolved itself. In its place rose the United Species Assembly, where decisions were made through discussion and voting rather than threats and force. Ambassador Katie Nelson, now 25, was preparing for her most important mission yet. Long-range scouts had discovered a cluster of star systems at the galaxy's edge, where primitive species were still fighting among themselves. "Are you ready for this?" asked Dr. Thompson, who had become her mentor. "I think so," Katie replied, adjusting her diplomatic credentials. "Though it's hard to imagine species that have never heard of peace. Remember what your grandfather taught you. Don't try to force them to change. Just show them that there's another way." The ship carrying Katie and her mixed-species crew launched toward the galaxy's frontier. Their mission wasn't conquest or even conversion, but simply to offer an alternative to endless war. On the bridge of their exploration vessel, Katie looked out at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there were beings who had never known a day without conflict, who couldn't imagine a universe where different species worked together instead of fighting. "Captain, we're approaching the first system," reported her science officer, a young Srath named Zara who had never held a weapon in her life. "Any signs of civilization?" "Several, and they're all at war with each other." Katie felt a familiar mixture of sadness and hope. The galaxy had come so far, but there was still work to do. "Open a channel on all frequencies." "Channel open, ma'am." Katie thought of her grandfather's first contact with the war-torn galaxy, and how one moment of refusing to choose sides had changed everything. "Unknown civilizations, this is Ambassador Katie Nelson of the United Species Assembly. We come in peace, and we'd like to ask you a simple question. What if there was a better way?" As her ship entered the system where multiple species were destroying each other over resources and territory, Katie knew that the message humanity had brought to the galaxy 5 years ago was still spreading. The idea that war was not inevitable, that peace was not weakness, that cooperation created more than competition ever could. Back on Earth, at the Memorial of Forgotten Wars, children from dozens of species played together in the gardens where weapons had once been displayed. They spoke multiple languages, came from different worlds, had different customs and beliefs, but they all shared something their ancestors had never known: the assumption that differences could be celebrated instead of fought over. Jake Morrison watched them play and smiled. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy hadn't been technology or military might. It had been the simple but revolutionary idea that intelligent beings could choose to be better than their worst instincts. The galaxy had learned that peace wasn't just the absence of war. It was the presence of infinite possibilities for what life could become when beings worked together instead of against each other. And in the far reaches of space, Katie Nelson and her crew continued to carry that message to species who had never imagined that such a thing as peace could exist, proving that no matter how long a civilization had been at war, it was never too late to choose a better path.